man, come on. The hell's with this thing now? Again. I just had this thing working, and now all of a sudden it's acting up again. Do we have a mic? I just did a test. And now I can't hear a damn thing again. And I got the other headphones. This is absolutely asinine. I have a microphone. I don't know why. I don't know why now, there they go. It's enough to drive me insane. I do a test. I hit start, and then the headset go blank. Come on, tablet, boot up. Should be booting up. Here we go, finally. I was going to say it's fully charged. Come on. Come on. Click. 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 Finally. Jesus. Ugh. All right. Before everything goes haywire, let's get a roll on here. Broadcasting live from 22-degree downtown Cleveland. It's station WDWL TV, home of not one but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And your host, as usual, discombobulated, grumpy old man, and our show is brought to you by Grumpy Vulture Productions. No vowels, thank you. See you, bye. I don't understand. Before I hit start, I make sure everything is operational. I hit start, and the headphones go dead. This light seems to be a little, but too bright. Move it there. Okay, that's a little better. Oh, man. You talk about my rectum being so puckered it was in my throat. I have to go out to the doctor today. I'm sitting at the traffic light at 130th and Snow Road. I make the left turn when the light changes onto snow. Coming from the opposite direction is a Parma police car. He makes the turn. I'm in the right lane. He's in the left lane, about one car length back. And he's like pacing me. I'm driving, believe me, speed limit's 35. I'm dead ass on 35. You think he would pass me? No. He did this routine, and I'm waiting any minute. I figure, here come the roof lights. I get up to the hospital entrance. Now, there's two entrances. You have the emergency room entrance first, and then you have the east entrance, which is for medical offices. Just as I pass the emergency room entrance, he comes into the right lane right behind me. Right about now, my rectum is about here. My ass cheeks are so tight they've gone numb. I put the turn signal on to make the right turn into the driveway, and he is dead ass on my bumper. I make the right turn, and he continues east on Snow Road. I figured any minute now, it's all over with. I'm going to get stopped. Parma's a prick. They're going to tow it, and I'll never see the car again. Well, I could have told you that, Ron. I've got it all over. Ever since chemo, I've got it every fucking place. And it's different in each location. I went to the dermatologist. I get like a light, I'll call it a crust. It goes across my eyelashes. It goes down the side of my nose and behind my ears. Then I have itchy patches on my back that are different than this. Then on my calves, I have itchy peeling scales. 3 different types. I have to admit, I'm a little lazy of putting on the steroid cream, but it works. I should, like the doctor said, nightly. Some nights okay, some nights But if I use this steroid cream, everything goes away. I'm just too fucking lazy to use it. I mainly use it like on my eyebrows and the edge of my nose and behind my ears. The shit that's on my back and on my legs, nobody fucking sees it till summer, so screw it. And it all started after goddamn chemo. I'll tell you what, when I was a teenager, I didn't even have acne. Go through chemo, I get the creeping crud. My legs look like the back end of an alligator. Salute, Kathy. Five more days. 5 more days. Which means tomorrow I have to go up to Mark's and get another gallon. Maybe a gallon and a half. Although, well, I don't take that PSA, piss on me test for 5 more days. We will we will talk about my doctor visit tomorrow. I don't feel like talking about it today. I'm too stressed out. And then on the way home, I'm sitting at the light at 130th and Brook Park. The light changes. I proceed across Brook Park up 130th. I'm sitting at the traffic light at 130th and 480. And what pulls up right next to me? A Brook Park cop. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what's going on today? He's sitting there. He's looking over at the car. Of course, it says WDWL TV on the doors. And he can tell it's not a brand new Passat. And then I see him diddling on his computer. And I'm like, fuck, he's running my license number. Next thing you know, the roof lights come on. Now he's over here. I'm waiting for the pull in front of me, pull in front of me. He hangs a U-turn. On comes the siren, and the other way he goes. I'll tell you what. When I got home, it took me about an hour before my rectum came out of my throat. This is getting too. I mean, the attorney told me the paperwork's sitting, with the judge. Why is the judge taking so goddamn long to sign one piece of paper? I says to her, how long could this take? She said, well, anywhere from a day to a month, whenever he decides to sign it. One signature, that's all we need. One signature, it goes to the clerk's office, stamped, filed. Then we do a title transfer. One signature. It's taking forever. My nerves can't take driving this car too much longer. Every time I go out, my blood pressure goes off the scale. I don't know why I have so much blue here. I don't have a blue light on it. One little blue light on. Why am I blue? Whatever. Then, after my appointment, I have to go down to the pharmacy because I had prescriptions ready. I get to the pharmacy. Now, the pharmacy has 5 windows. I get to the pharmacy, I get in line, and there's about 10 people in front of me. Window 5 closes. Then window 1 closes. Meanwhile, the line for the pharmacy is almost down to the entrance. So, knowing me, I get a little vocal and I said, we're going to be here past closing time, people. You got a line down to the entrance. Can we have 5 more windows back? I'm watching. Next thing I know, I see the pharmacist point. He points to window 5, and he points down towards window 1. Amazing. 5 windows again. Then people have to stand and bullshit. They get their prescriptions, and they got to yak and talk about what they had for breakfast and how much Starbucks coffee is. Grab your prescription and get the fuck out of the way. Jesus. If you want to chit-chat, find out when the pharmacy techs go to lunch and sit down with them. God, there was this one woman, yak. I was about ready to stick my foot up her ass. I'm looking and the line's getting longer and longer and longer. God, I get up to the window, I give them my information, they tell me how much, I pop my credit card in the machine, bang, hit the green button, sign, grab my bag, out the door. I don't want to get friendly with any of them. There's no need to. And I'm not that lonely that I need to talk to somebody. It's almost as bad as like when I go to the bank. They've cut down from 4 to 2 tellers. So things don't really move fast to begin with. It never fails. Somebody is at teller 1. Teller 2 calls the person in front of me. These 2 people are banking for world corporations. I have one simple deposit to make, and it's like 2 hours waiting. And then, they did away with the drive-through windows. Everything is all ATM. I don't do ATM. Same thing. Big sign when you walk by the registration. For faster service, use the kiosk. No. Because that kiosk is putting people out of work. I will stand in line because I want to keep that person working. We'll get to my doctor appointment tomorrow after the CT scan. That way I'll have 2 things to talk about. Although I am getting an expedited appointment with the foot surgeon. My doctor said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" No, but yes. Make me an appointment with Dr. Wack, ASAP. So in order to unwind, I came home and was watching court videos again. And I'll tell you what, some of the stupid shit that people actually have the nerve to say to a judge. Note. One of the cases I watched was a child support case. The guy's sitting in jail. Now, 99% of the time, the way the court system works is you pay your past due take two. Your past due child support, and that's your bail. This guy had 11 children by 5 different women and owed money for all 11. And he was crying that he couldn't go work his job because he didn't have the $11,000.42 to get out of jail. Serves you right for having 11 kids with 5 different women, asshole. Then there was this idiot. His baby mama broke up with him and refused to talk to him. So, he drives over to her apartment. He gets out of his car and he stabs one of her tires. So this would force her to talk to him. He is parked directly behind her car, so she can't back up. She sees him, and she makes a quick dash to get in the car with her kid, gets the engine started, and he comes up and taps on the window with a 9mm. Accidentally, the trigger went off. He blew out the left rear window. The bullet went through the headrest about 2 inches above his kid and blew out the right front window. She still wouldn't talk to him, so she drove up over the grass and took off. He proceeds to get into a high-speed chase with her. When he gets arrested, the police said, why did you shoot at her? I was trying to get her attention. He got her attention, all right. And luckily, the judge sentenced him 3 years for the weapon, because Ohio has a mandatory 3 years. And then he got 12 years for the baloney-less assault. And as soon as the judge pronounced sentence, this big, brave guy cried like a little baby. I bet the judge was holding back laughter. Then there was another one. They get into a police chase. The speeds reach up to 120 miles an hour. They go through 5 different cities. So there is a parade of police cars chasing this guy. When they finally did a pit maneuver and got him stopped, his excuse was, I didn't know you were chasing me. What? And the last one I watched was a police chase that went at 100 miles an hour for 25 miles. And when they finally stopped the idiot, they said, "Why did you not stop?" He was afraid of the police. Now, had he pulled over and taken the speeding ticket, there would have been no need for him to be surrounded at gunpoint and told to get out of his car, which then gave him fear of police. But instead of stopping for the ticket, I'm afraid of the police. That's almost as bad as when they get arrested and all of a sudden they can't breathe. I am so sick and tired of hearing, "I can't breathe." There was one I watched last night while I was laying in bed. They jerked the guy out of his car and handcuffed him, and while they were searching him, he's screaming, "I can't breathe." The officer said, "If you can scream you can't breathe, you're breathing. Shut up and get in the car." There was one I watched the other day. They did a pit maneuver on the car. The guy hops out and he runs about 5 feet before they didn't tackle him. There were two cops, grabbed him by both arms, 5 feet. That's all he ran, 5 feet. Immediately, while the police were holding him to handcuff him, he couldn't breathe. He ran 5 feet. "I can't breathe. I can't breathe." I think they've kind of worn that out. It's like, the pot calling the kettle black. "I can't breathe." Use another line, people. You've worn that one out. And you hear it constantly. And the sickening thing is, white people are starting to use it. "I can't breathe. I can't breathe." And then, they call EMS and they hook them up to the machine. You're good to go. Your oxygen rate's at 100%. Your breathing's normal. Because, see, they think by calling EMS, they won't go to jail. Well, as soon as you are medically cleared, you're not going to Ponderosa Steakhouse, pal. You're going to jail. Yeah, Kathy, the disgusting thing is, there could be somebody across town having a heart attack, and the ambulance is tied up with this asshole that can't breathe. I can't remember whether it was last year or the year before. There was a lawsuit filed against the city of Columbus and the fire department and the EMS crews. Because in that area, they only had 2 ambulances for coverage. I guess they break it down into like districts, and each district has 2 ambulances. Well, one ambulance was tied up on an overdose. Guy overdosed in his car. And the police had given him Narcan a couple of times, and they had to call. So that tied up ambulance 1. Ambulance 2 was tied up on a I can't breathe call. Meanwhile, a guy in an office building goes into cardiac arrest. And they had to call an ambulance from another district. And by the time EMS got to the guy in the office, they stuck a lily in his hand. And they said possibly had one of those ambulances not been tied up, they could have saved this guy. And of course, the city got sued. Suit settled for undisclosed amount. I'm gonna hear some shit, but I'll tell you what. I think if you are dumb enough to overdose, then you deserve what you get. Period. It's amazing the amount of money across the United States that is spent on Narcan for these idiots that overdose. And there was one, I think it was Colorado, somewhere in Colorado. This guy overdosed 3 times in one day. And EMS comes out, Narcan. 3 times in one day. He didn't learn his lesson the first time, second time. No, 3 times in one day. The third time, I would have just looked at him and went, 642, DOA. It probably hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on Narcan every year across the United States to save these stupid-ass idiots that can't get off of drugs. They should make a ruling. If it's an OD call, it's not that important. Don't even respond lights and siren. But of course, there's people, that's what that's what EMS is for. Three times in one day. You didn't learn the first time you almost died. You didn't learn the second time you almost died. And you did it a third time. Then you deserve to get the dirt nap. Whack. 5 more days. There was one I watched the other day. This guy got pulled over for weaving. He pulls into I don't know, Circle K or something. And while the officer is talking to him, he passes out. Well, she's trying everything, the old sternum rub. Boy, that'll wake you up in a hurry. He's not reacting. So they figured, OD. She runs back to the cruiser. She gets a Narcan. Zaps him with the Narcan. Nothing happens. She goes back to the cruiser, gets a second vial. Zaps him. Still nothing. Now he's got that, what they call agonal breathing, which means you're pretty close to checking out. The supervisor pulls up. She asks him, you got any Narcan? Yep. They give him a third one. Still nothing. They give him a fourth one. Still nothing. By the time they gave him the fourth one, EMS showed up. So EMS give him a fifth one. Finally, he starts to come around. They end up giving him a sixth one. By now, he's like, holy shit, what's going on, guys? So instead of arresting him, they let the ambulance take him to the hospital. They call his parents, who come to get the car. They discharge him. His parents, instead of driving his dumb ass home, give him the keys to his car. Here you go. What does he do? He leaves the hospital and goes and finds his drug dealer and does it again. He's passed out in the car in a gas station. They call the police. It just so happens to be the same police that pulled him over originally. They zap him with the Narcan again. He starts to come around. They call EMS. EMS zapped him again. This time they arrested his ass. Yeah, we get out of the hospital because we almost died. And what do? The guy's like, shit, I don't have a high. I need to go get another high. At that point, cover him with dirt. Why waste all those city resources and all that money on Narcan if he just wants to do it again? I didn't vote, well, I don't vote to raise my taxes, but, I don't vote for city bond issues to waste it on Narcan on assholes that are dead set on taking a dirt nap. There was one in Columbus where, and these idiots, they don't know what they're buying. They have no idea what they're buying. The guy thought, according to his roommate, he was buying his usual heroin. what he ended up buying was like 250% concentrated fentanyl. His roommate found him sitting on the can in the bathroom with the needle still in his arm. Killed him that fast. Last year, I don't know how it is this year, but last year, Columbus had a hell of a rash of overdoses. Fentanyl was running rampant in that city. But I feel if you're that dead set on finishing yourself off, God love you. One less leech on society. Oh, I'm going to hear this. I'm going to hear about this one. Yeah, that was the idiot that they ended up taking to the hospital. He was all pissed off that he didn't have his buzz going anymore. Yeah. I have watched many videos, Kathy. These idiots literally get pissed off. I just spent, $20 for that buzz. Well, that buzz almost killed you. I don't care. That was my buzz. You had no right. Well, you're alive to bitch about it. Next time, say la vie. But the one whose parents brought his car up to the hospital and then handed him his keys when they discharged him, well, he deserved a dirt nap and his parents deserved to have somebody's foot put up their ass. I was told last summer that there are a lot of dealers in my neighborhood. And it's scary because this neighborhood is full of a lot of young kids. Where they are, I don't know. Well, I knew one last year because he pissed off his supplier and they came by with an AK and kind of peppered his house. Needless to say, they aren't living there anymore. And the landlord ended up having to put up a lot of new aluminum siding. It's almost as bad as, all these teenage kids with more high-powered weaponry than a goddamn SWAT assault team. I'd still like to know, where do they get this shit? Where does a 14-year-old, first of all, get the money? And second of all, who's selling this shit? But it's a lot of idiots that leave their stuff in the car. Then, car gets broken into. A lot of times they don't report it because it's probably an unregistered item, or they're afraid that they're going to, have the law come down on them for leaving it in their car. I think anybody that leaves something like that in their car should get at least a year. They should get at least a year in jail to teach them a lesson. I think I'll talk to my congressman. Maybe they can introduce Grumpy's Law. I wouldn't even think of going, get home at night. Okay, I got some groceries on the seat. Pardon me, wait a minute. Let me stick this under the seat for tonight. Then come out in the morning and go, holy shit, the windows broke on my car. Oh, no. Well, I guess I'll call Safelite. So, Kathy, how's the weather down there in your neighborhood today? Yeah, let me see. We're sitting at 24 degrees. A heat wave. And then I tried calling that office for assistance today, the number that the electric company gave me. All day long. I guess by the time I get through to them, it'll be like August, and I won't need any assistance. Number was busy. Immediately, I mean, it rang like half a ring. Really? Holy shit. Now, do your school systems operate like they do in Cleveland? Because Cleveland gives like 6 snow days, I think. Something like that. Anything over 6, the semester gets extended because they have to make them snow days up. Really, still? Holy shit. Man, there's going to be a lot of frozen goddamn houses. Christ, when the power comes on, they won't be able to live in their house because all the pipes will be frickin' broken. What is their cutoff? I think Cleveland, it's 30. Anything below 30, or is it? I think maybe it's 30. I know there's a temperature cutoff. If it goes below like 30 degrees, they close the frickin' schools, even though all the schools are brand new with all the latest heating on Earth. Yeah, that's the way Cleveland is. They have to make them up. All the kids get pissed off. Oh my God, school's, 10 days longer. Well, you were off 10 days. Duh. Oh, Kathy, you'll love this. I'm coming back from the doctors. And in front of me is one of these contract school bus. It's it's a minivan, but it's contracted by the school. We come up to the railroad tracks. And it makes a dead ass stop. On go the four ways. I went around it. And it sat there maybe 30 seconds and then proceeded. I couldn't believe it. A private. Nobody was in it. It made a dead stop. Four ways came on, sat there about 30 seconds. Four ways went off, and it proceeded over the tracks. I was like, I have never seen that with a private. I've seen it with a school bus. But this is a private contractor. And it's got a beacon on the roof that says school children, you know. But there wasn't anybody in the van. I was amazed. I could see if there were kids. Unless maybe there was one sleeping on the seat or something. I think the way Cleveland used to be, I think we went till the last day in May. And then we went back after Labor Day. Yeah, because we were off June, July, and August. School ended like the last day of May, and then we went back the day after Labor Day. At least that's the way it used to be. You know, I think what they need to do is do it the way the Brits do. You go to school for a month, then you're off a month. You go to school for a month, then you're off a month. That's the way their system works, or used to. So you would go in January, you'd be off February. You'd go in March, you'd be off in April. You'd go in May, you'd be off in June. Every other month. Yeah, see, every system operates different. Or either the Brits might be 2 months on, 2 months off. I know that they don't go like we do. You know, where they get 3 months of summer vacation. It's either a month on, month off, or 2 months on, two off. Except for well, their system is goofy. What we call high school, they call college. And when you graduate high school / college, then you go to university. They call high school college. It's goofy over there. because I remember watching one British video. This kid brought a knife and decided to give one of the teachers a dirt nap. And they were interviewing this one kid that was friend of the. And they said, "What grade are you?" And he says, "Well, I'm in grade 11 in college." And he said, "I have one more year, and then I go to university." And I got to thinking, grade 11 in college? That's high school. You go basically 1 to 9. That's called school. Then, if you graduate ninth grade, you go to college. And then after college, you go to university. Weird system. Oh, it don't get any better. But it works. At this rate, my plumbing will be clean for years. But no more of them horse pills. Took the last one last night. Oh, God, that would be even more confusing. I'm through with grade school. I'm going to gymnasium now, huh? Yeah, gymnasium. I'm in gymnasium. What do you mean you're nauseated? No, I didn't say I'm nauseated. I'm in gymnasium. Like I say, every school system got a different. But yeah, when you graduate grade school in Britain, you go to college. Then if you graduate college, you go to university. Enough to drive you crazy. Although they probably look at our system and go, boy, U.S. is really screwed up. Well, yeah. They don't teach half the shit that they used to. Although I don't miss cursive class. Now they teach them how to make an X. Sign your name. Oh, you're a junior? Okay, put a little X behind it. There, you got a big X and a little X. And it's amazing watching these interrogation videos of these teenage kids. Because they ask them, how far did you go in school? 7th grade. Yeah, no wonder you're a goddamn thief. You ain't gonna be no CEO, no major corporation with that kind of education. But it's unfortunate, we're turning out a bunch of illiterate idiots. Ever since they enacted that No Child Left Behind. You can't flunk somebody 3 times for the third grade. No, you got to move them on along. That ruined the school systems in the United States. That no child left behind, because you might embarrass them. My kid got left behind. Trying to think what the hell he had to repeat. I think it was 6th grade. Yeah, I think he had to repeat 6th grade. It didn't have any lasting mental effects on him. Well, yeah, they're just there for the paycheck. That's all. Not like the teachers we had. They were really dedicated to their trade. Now, I really can't understand why somebody would want to be a teacher today. With what the I remember, well, my old math teacher that lives up the street, he ended up taking the buyout. He told me you would spend 3/4 of the period just trying to get the assholes to sit down and shut up. He said basically they came in, they raised all kinds of hell, and you were lucky to get the homework assignment out, and that was it. Bell rang, on to the next one. He really wanted to stay longer. But when they offered him the buyout, he was like, sign the check, I'm leaving. As a matter of fact, my old girlfriend that she did the same thing. She took the buyout because I couldn't believe it when I saw her one day, and I was like, "How come you're not in school?" She went, "Shit, I took the buyout. I couldn't hack it anymore." And I remember her like in 4th grade going, "I want to be a teacher." And then 7th grade, "I want to be a teacher." Then 12th grade, "I want to be a teacher." Then on to Ohio State, "I want to be a teacher." And then when she, got her teaching certificate, she couldn't stand it. She couldn't wait till they gave her a buyout. I know for a while, I don't know if it's still right after, what the hell was it, column kill. I know a lot of the schools initiated metal detectors. I don't know if they still have them or not. Next time I go up to the Indian store and there's some students in there, I'll have to ask them, do you still have to go through metal detectors? Because I know they had metal detectors and then they had the x-ray machines. Put your book bag in there. Wait a minute, what the hell's in there? 3 9mm, 12 clips, and 300 rounds of ammunition? We're going to have to take that book bag, sorry. Yeah, I know it was right after column kill or whatever the hell that. All the schools ended up with metal detectors and x-ray machines, and I don't know if I'll have to ask. Although, oh, that's an invasion of my child's privacy to run his book bag through an x-ray machine. Well, yeah, it's also an invasion of somebody's health if he's got 37 grenades and an AK 47 in there. Because I know for a while there used to be guards at every door. There was no way you could sneak in. Yeah, Columbine. I knew it was column something. It's almost as bad as was up on the East Coast. That guy that walked in that elementary school. But see, the system probably has gotten laxed. I don't know. But it's pretty goddamn sad when a kindergartner's got to go through a metal detector. Because somewhere, if I remember right, there was like a third or fourth grader that somehow got into school with one of his parents' weapons and shot the teacher. Luckily, she survived, but of course, she quit. The kid was like 6, 7, 8 years old. But they see this shit on TV and they're like, oh, I'm going to do that. Like there were two kids, I can't remember. I think it was a school down in New Mexico, somewhere in that area. They asked them, where did you learn how to fire a weapon? And it was a video game. They literally learned from a video game. Because for certain video games, I guess you can buy toy guns. I don't know. I never played a video game. Well, Pong and Frogger. Those were the two video games I played. Pong, bonk, 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 bonk. Which we thought was cool. And Frogger was even neater. Run him over, bonk, squish, yay. Yeah, remember my buddy, his parents bought him a Pong. After school, bonk, 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 bonk. Sit there for hours. Bonk, 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 bonk. Talk about antiquated graphic interface. But it was the coolest game around. Had a controller that was about the size of a pack of cigarettes with a couple of buttons on it. Bonk, 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 bonk. You could see it in your sleep. Bonk, 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 bonk. Now, I've heard that, I think it's PlayStation, if I'm not mistaken. You can you can actually talk to the person you're playing against. The two of you get on the computer screen. I don't know. Never played a video game in my life except Pong and Frogger. Well, I got the email notification today. My one item has shipped. So tomorrow I will check the tracking number. I can't wait till that gets here. It finally shipped. And the frickin' Tupperware bread box that I ordered 6 weeks ago that says local seller should arrive in 3 to 5 days. That might be here by the end of the week, finally. Yeah, because I heard, oh, I don't know, a day or two ago, my buddy's grandson plays some video game with some kid in Germany. They both get on the screen, and I was like, talk about advanced video games. Jesus. No wonder them goddamn consoles are so expensive. Although I've been seeing a lot more commercials for that plastic model company. They're spending some money advertising now. I've seen, God, I must have seen six different commercials. Although I've got to order that. I got to order that goddamn mining truck. As much as I hate to spend the money, that was a kit that disappeared that I had about half built. I'm going to order the mining truck and then the Caterpillar bulldozer. The only problem is, besides getting the buzz from the glue, once you build them, you got to gently put them on a shelf and not even look at them for fear they'll fall apart. But I am definitely going to order that mining truck because I had searched eBay for that and the prices were ridiculous. And now this company's making it again. Evidently, the research that they did must have said worldwide kids are going to start building model kits again. Because, man, the investment that they had to make, not only, getting a company to manufacture, but buying all the rights from AMT and Revell and all the model companies. I'm glad to see it make a comeback. I really am. Although, Ron, I am tempted to buy one of them actual working engines. I would love to build one of them and fire that sucker up. But I think I will practice on the plastic model kits first before I go that advanced, building an actual working miniature gas engine. Yeah, the other day I was looking at one of them, the V12 Ferrari engine. You build that sucker from scratch. And then once you get it built, you get your little gas tank and your radiator and everything all set up, and then you start it up. I can't I'm going to buy one, but I like I say, I'm going to build that mining truck and I'm going to build the bulldozer, and that way it'll kind of get me back in the mode of working on little tiny parts again. Really? Miniature power equipment, huh? God, I remember the dollhouse my uncle built for my niece. It took him forever. It was, oh my God, the thing must have been 5 foot tall and 4 foot wide by 2.5 foot. And it had working lights in each room. You'd throw the little toggle switch and you could light up the room, and had little tiny plug-in lamps. Oh, from what I hear, I think she's still got it. I think when she got married, moved down to Florida, she took it with her for her kids. But I remember my uncle having to string wires. You actually you build it like a real house. You had a framework, and then you put the electric in. I don't know if it had plumbing. I'll have to email her and ask her. I know it had electric because I remember it had a little lamp. You had to use tweezers to plug it in the wall outlet. It took him almost a year to build that thing. But now they have miniature power equipment, huh? Get out with the little table saw. Cut little miniature 2x4s. What do you have? Little tiny hammers and nails. Dink, 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 dink. Kind of neat, though. Have miniature power equipment. Oh my God. I didn't know that there was a website out there that had all that shit. Although nowadays, you can buy anything. Although I think it would be cool to have a little tiny table saw. Zzz. Cut balsa wood. Zzz. I'm waiting for the day that they have the, Ken and Barbie dolls, and then they have, Barbie's landscaper. Got a little miniature weed whacker. Yeah. Little miniature hedge trimmer. It surprises me they haven't thought of that yet. Barbie's landscaper. Barbie's pool boy. Have a real tiny little swimming pool, and the guy's out there with a net. Yeah. One thing I always wondered, if Barbie is so popular, how come you have to buy all her friends? Nobody ever explained that. Of course, I never played with Barbie dolls. Growing up, I didn't have a feminine side. Oh, God. Oh, it don't get any better. Oh, my phone call last night. He is getting ready to get rid of a whole shitload of test equipment. So he's going to send me emails with pictures. To see if there's anything that I want. Because I asked him, I said, you got any real high-end microphones? He goes, no, those went to the employees already. So I can't wait to see what all kinds of stuff he's getting rid of. Tell him to send me a studio. Send me a studio that I can build. Put it in my living room. Oh, those had to be tasty. Yeah, I remember them things. We had them mainly in the woods. Before they built the freeway, the elephant ears. They would grow in the woods over there. I don't ever remember any of the girls making stuffed cabbage with them. But man, there were a shitload of them. I remember we'd pick a bunch of them and tie them together and fan each other with them. I don't remember any. God, I know a lot of the girls made mud pies. I don't know anybody making stuffed cabbage with them. I can remember picking a bunch of them, bringing them home, and my father was like, "Throw that shit in the garbage." Yeah, we'd pick a whole big handful and tie it together, and we'd be fanning ourselves with them. Because over in the woods, they grew huge over there. God damn, them leaves, you could almost cover yourself with them. Those were the fun days, the old woods. We had all kinds of bike paths and everything through it. That's where, parents never had to worry during summer vacation where their kids were Everybody's kid was in the woods. Some built neat, well, platforms for tree houses. And then they tore the woods out and built Interstate 71. And I remember watching them earth movers. Those fancy green Euclids going up and down, up and down, up and down. I tell kids, I watched them build that freeway. And they all say the same thing. Man, you're fucking ancient. Yeah, I remember when they came through and they started cutting all the trees down. And then came in with the bulldozers that had a big hook on the back. And they were pulling the stumps. It was cool watching them. Because they had to dig down so far so that they could build the overpass bridges. And then when they found that all them fossils, when the Natural History Museum came out with college kids that wanted to be, I can't think of the term, not paleontologists. And they found, oh man, the fossils that they, oh my God. They had an area roped off that had to be, 100 feet by 100 feet. And when they would come out with a fossil, they had a big tent. And they would start with little picks and brushes and clean them up. It was unbelievable the shit that they took out of there. But like one of the professors said, at one time, this whole area was one big, giant, prehistoric lake. And man, some of the fossils they took, oh man. It was hard to believe. God, I was what? 8, 9, 10 years old, looking at that shit going, that shit lived here? Goddamn fish that had a jaw, big spiky teeth. That was swimming here? Yeah, one time. But it was all fish. Well, goofy looking snails and a lot of weird shit. Hard to believe a godzillion years ago this was all underwater here. and them ugly looking fish were swimming around. And they took some huge fossils out of here. Because I remember when the earth movers hit shale, they kind of stopped and they went to a different area, and that's when the museum came in, and God, there must have been 50, 60 kids, well, college kids. And it looked like something you'd see in a movie. They were out in the dig area, and then they had a couple of big tents set up, and seeing them ugly looking fish going, holy shit, that sucker could bite my head off. Never found any, like, mammals. It was all fish and what have you. Yeah, Kathy, it was neat. We couldn't get near the dig area, but we could get by the tents, and they had big old army surplus. I mean, God, the one tent was so big it was you could have used it for a barracks, you know. And they had all kinds of tables set up and generators with lamps, and they would let us, well, they had it roped off, but you could go in the tent and watch them clean the fossils. And of course, you know, none of us ever brought a camera with us, but it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing to see, what, 10,000 years ago, what was under our feet. And then if they had, you know, if they had like duplicates, they would give them to us kids. I had a couple, they looked like potato bugs. And, you know, they got lost over the years. But when they had a shitload of those, they would give them to the kids, say, here's a fossil, you know. Because I remember when I was managing Barry Buick Body Shop, one of the curators from the Natural History Museum brought his car in for repair. And he opened his goddamn briefcase, and he had a fucking tooth from a saber-toothed tiger. That had to be like that big. He had a bunch of neat fossils he carried around with him. And one day he handed it to me. He said, you know what that is? That's like a 50,000-year-old tooth from a saber-toothed tiger. Really? But being a kid, back there, seeing that shit come up out of the ground was amazing. Because I remember they had 2 or 3 students. And all they did was they were cleaning them potato bugs. And they were giving them out here, you know, mainly to keep us out of the. Because at night when they would leave, they had 24-hour security there, so you couldn't get into the dig area or the tents. But yeah, there were 3 or 4 students just cleaning potato bugs. Here you go. Oh boy, a potato bug. Ugly looking things. I had 2 or 3 potato bugs. Well, they were ugly looking potato bugs, believe me. And of course, every kid brought it to school, and the teacher was like, Jesus Christ, we've seen 50 of them already. Put them away. Stay away from that dig zone. And then when the museum got, they were there for about 6 weeks. And I guess either they had enough fossils or the State Highway Commission said, hey, we got to get to building a freeway here. But it was the neat thing was we could stand up on the bank and look down in the where they were digging. And they would very carefully lift a big piece of shale, and then underneath it'd be, a big fish. Well, then the piece of shale that they had like an x-ray. It had the piece of the fish here and the fish there. And then they would very carefully wrap them up, take them over to the cleaning tents. It was cool. I tell kids about that today. They're like, you're full of shit. I wish I had a potato bug to show them. Kids around here don't believe it. Tell them that used to be a prehistoric lake over there. Well, over here too, but over there. What are you drinking, old man? I ain't drinking nothing. Well, you're on some good drugs then. That's a freeway over there. Yeah, but before the freeway, it was a prehistoric lake. Oh, did you actually fish there? Yeah, I sat on my Tyrannosaurus Rex. But it was amazing, no mammals. You would think that maybe, a prehistoric fox or something would have got. Nope. It was all fish and shellfish, and I was kind of waiting, hey, how about a mastodon? You got any mastodon pieces in there? No? Well, I guess the mastodons didn't drink out of the prehistoric lake. Blah. But it was interesting growing up here and seeing what was here in prehistoric time. Kids today, they'll never know that. Kids my age saw it. We were here to see them dig them fossils up out of the ground. And of course, when we went back to school, of course, that was the big topic during history class, But it's neat to know that, like, underneath this house could be more fossilized fish and marine life. Because if it's over there, it's got to be over here. Not that I'm ever going to dig down that far, but it's interesting to know that I could be sitting over some huge fish. Because I saw it as a kid. And like the professors were saying, it wasn't just a little lake. He said this whole area. He said, like, up to 130th and Lorraine and up 150th. He said this was once one big, huge, prehistoric lake. And I saw it. Growing up, being 8, 9, 10 years old, I can't remember how old I was. I'll have to look and see when they opened the freeway. But seeing history and not really realizing, it didn't sink in. Now it does. But back then it was like, oh, cool. What do you want, pain in the ass? Guess who's here? What do you want, troublemaker? Come here. I'll piss you off. Come here. I'll piss you off. Ow, no claws. Okay, you talked in the microphone. Now go away. Touch me not. Oh, he don't like to be picked up. Oh, he don't like to be picked. Do you? Pink nose. He does not like to be picked up. Boy, the claws come out right away. Right, Fatso? Give me that look like, who you calling fat? Although it was interesting, when I went into ER and stepped on the scale, I was exactly 220.0 pounds. Today, I was 215.4. So I lost some weight due to that infarction. Although I wasn't really chowing down. Oh, God, let me see, Kathy. Well, you figure all right, trailers are usually 13.6. I would say they went down maybe 20, 25 feet, scraping constantly, scraping layers of earth away. I would say they had to be down maybe 30. Because I remember we were standing up looking down, maybe 30 feet, something like that. I know the more they dug, I mean, they got down, because they kept going down, 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 down. But originally, I think maybe 25 to 30 feet. Because I remember watching them Euclid earth movers, they just keep scraping, and then they go empty somewhere and come back and scrape. And, well, you figure the height of a freeway bridge, and then maybe add 10 or 15 feet. Tangled up in wire here. Yeah, because you've got I-71, and then you got the bridges like per 130th and 140th and 150th. So whatever that distance from the bottom, say the bottom beam of the bridge down to the pavement, and then add maybe 10, 15 feet. Because I remember, like I say, we stood up here and we were looking down at the pit. But they were there. They were about 6 weeks. Because certain areas got deeper and deeper and deeper. And it was all shale. All of it. Because plus everything was done with hand tools. No power. They'd be tap, tap, tap with chisels, They'd lift a layer. It was cool watching it, though. It was unbelievable. Because we would all bring a folding lawn chair and just sit and watch. And then if they came out with a big section like maybe 24 by 24, you knew it was something good. And they wrapped it in like big thick canvas. And then they would carry it to the tent. And then, of course, all the kids would say, screw them lawn chairs. We'd run over by the tent. They'd unwrap it, and it'd be some big, ugly fish. And then they had their little tiny picks and brushes. They had a lot of brushes that were about like this. They'd be picking and brushing and picking and brushing. And then when they got it all clean, they would take it to the far end of the tent and lay it on a table. And then, of course, Everybody was, they had a professional photographer taking pictures, and it was cool. And then years later, when Dale was like 5, 6, 7 years old, we went to the museum and actually saw the finished product on display. So, you know, I'm telling Dale, I saw them dig that up. And he's looking up at me like, Dad, did you drink before we came to the museum? No, I don't even think they teach it in school anymore. And I just wonder, back in the day, we used to take field trips to the museums. Do they take field trips anymore to see the dinosaurs? And I don't know. I think it's something that's all lost on today's educational system. I really do. But I thought it was really cool to take my kid and see that display and to stand there and say, I saw them dig them up. And they were right up the street from where we live. And of course, all the people that were around going, Jesus Christ, get away from him. This guy's scary. Yeah, that's about it. We'll take you down to see the lions and tigers and bears, and then we'll go pumpkin hunting. Because I remember the looks I was getting in the museum. And then, luckily, the guy that had brought his car into the body shop, the curator, he was wandering around. And he came over, and of course, he recognized me from the body shop. And I said, I was just telling these people, I actually witnessed them digging them fossils up. And he turned to the group and he said, yeah, these all came from 130th and I-71. And then he said, and this guy's old enough to have seen it. Asshole. Yeah, the only problem is when I went snipe hunting, I never caught one. I would like to go to maybe this summer, go to the Natural History Museum and do that again. Go over by that display, and anybody standing there, tell them, I saw them dig them up. Have people say, man, they let people with dementia in the museum? Security! Oh, God, I can't wait till I. But unfortunately, like I say, I'm going to keep a couple of bottles handy just to clean the plumbing. Well, I think we're going to call it an evening here. Every now and then this gets out of alphabetical order. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we will meet again right here. Good old WDWL TV, the home of not one, but 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And with that, take care, everybody, and we will meet again tomorrow night. See ya. And